Hi, and welcome to the first in our series of webinars. And today we're going to be focusing around Flex licensing agreements. So we're going to take you through in the next 20 minutes all about what Flex is, why it's beneficial, and the ROI you can see for your business. So today we have myself, Wack and Gush on the call, and we'll be taking you through everything from start to finish about how Flex can help you. Take it away.
Thanks, Hayley. So I'll just really go through the agenda. So what we're going to cover off today are some of the key client challenges we see and how Collaboration Flex can hopefully address those. I will also then go into a little bit more detail around what's included with the Flex plan and the typical migration process that's required from perpetual licensing that you have currently today and take you to the new Flex model, which is OpEx-based. I'll then finally finish with an ROI and an example for about 250 user organization, which is an EA enterprise agreement. And finally, I will end with some next steps and a summary of the key points. So let's talk about, I guess, some of the challenges, the key challenges that many of you may face today from Cisco licensing. You know, it's typically been known to be quite difficult and really quite complex to navigate through. A typical client will experience some, I guess, if not all of these that you can see on the screen. So most of these stem from, Cisco historically being asking clients to actually purchase or consume licenses, by buying perpetual licenses, and then in addition to that, you also have to purchase Swiss contracts. So basically, this created a bit of a management overhead and a bit of a management headache. It resulted in multiple support contracts, continually kind of renewing at different times for those contracts during that whole period. It was essentially cumbersome and quite difficult to manage. And many of you on the call may remember Cisco's DLU. Now, these were very endpoint specific. You have to buy a license for an endpoint. You then have to purchase an additional license for any additional features such as voicemail, any additional bolt-ons. Were always kind of like very separate. It's very complex, put it that way. You either needed to be, I don't know, a rocket scientist to work it out, or you needed to work through the Cisco DLU calculator to know exactly what you required from a licensing perspective for your particular deployment. Cisco then introduced Cisco Unified Workspace Licensing around 5 years ago to make that a little bit more user-focused. However, it was still, not very simple. It still meant you having to buy perpetual licenses and additional Swiss contract renewals and what that goes with that. What Cisco have now done have made it a little bit more simple. They are hoping to address all of these challenges, hopefully within, with the introduction of Flex licensing. So what is Flex? So quite simply, Flex, it's a collaboration licensing model. It's based on a software as a subscription, so you consume the licensing on OpEx, and it covers for the calling, meetings, and messaging components that Cisco provides. And how you choose to consume that, whether that's on-prem or whether it's in the cloud, this gives you the flexibility to choose between the plan between on-prem and cloud. So let's take a look, I guess, a closer look at the Flex plan itself. So the Flex plan is actually broken down into three main components. So if you break that down further, you've got calling, meeting, and contact center, and within that you have on-prem solutions, for example, Cisco Communication Manager, and you may have Jabber, for example, traditionally, and that's where most of our clients on the call today sit. The Flex plan also caters for cloud deployment. So if you want to go to a hosted solution, i.e. CUCM in the cloud, we also have that option and solution from Natilic UC as a service. And in addition to that, more recently, Cisco acquired BroadSoft, and as part of that, WebEx calling through Broad Cloud is something that we as Natilic were the first partner to be able to launch earlier this year. And then from a meetings perspective, you can again choose to go on-prem or cloud, and those options are WebEx meetings that we all know, and what we're on today, all the centers that you are. And you get this included with an enterprise agreement. And then you also have Cisco Meeting Server, or previously it was known as Telepresence Server, to do, I guess, on-prem meetings rather than going to the cloud. And then for some of our clients, they also have a contact center. And again, Cisco do provide a cloud and an on-prem solution. And then finally, from a team collaboration perspective, this is included. So you get Java and Teams. So the latter Webex Teams is included with any Flex agreement. So I guess let's talk about some of the key benefits of why you should consider moving to the Flex plan. So the key, I guess, the benefits really to point out here, it's a consumption-based model. So you can choose to go on an OPEX. So if you may do a 1 year or a 3 year agreement with us, but however, you can choose to spend that as an OPEX expenditure, so on a monthly basis. It gives you the deployment flexibility to go between on-prem and cloud. So some applications you may want to choose to keep on-premise, for example, calling, and then you may want to take, for example, meetings, i.e. WebEx, on the cloud. And this license gives you the benefit to do that. It also gives you the organic growth. So if you were to do an enterprise agreement, for instance, you get 20% benefit, growth included as part of the plan. And hopefully this gives you, I guess, a flavor of the benefit and what it provides. I'm now going to cover off, I guess, some of the licensing models that are available. So just, I guess you can consume, I guess, calling or meeting individually or as a combination. Now, obviously, if you choose to do the two together, Cisco do provide a better price point. We will work with you and meetings. You can choose to do just calling today, so that could be your call manager and not have meetings, choose not to do meetings. However, you can, in the future, bolt on that if you choose to do so. So anything sub 250 users is would be a named user license, and anything beyond that, i.e. a 250 user, that's an enterprise agreement, which is a Collaboration Flex plan, which gives you additional benefits, and I'll cover those up in the next few slides. And then same for meetings, so you either have the option to go for an active user. The active user is really good for those organizations that don't know quite how they're going to use meetings and want to kind of start off are the early adopters of having conferencing in the cloud. So you can base it on a 15% of your knowledge work account. So yeah, like I said, it's really good, useful if you want to kind of grow that on a pay-as-you-grow kind of model. And then I guess the other option is an enterprise agreement, which is for all employees across the organization. We tend to see kind of organizations that are new to meetings starting out an active user, and then maybe in the future, price point, and we'll work this out, it will move you to an enterprise agreement. So I guess let's look at some of the buying models in a bit more depth. So you've got the named user. Now this is relevant for calling a meeting. It's really ideal for, if you want to test some new features. So for example, you want to test out cloud calling, or you want to just test out conferencing for a sub-department or, a few individuals. So a named user may be useful, or a new office for that as well, for that matter. One of the key benefits, I guess, of Flex is it allows you to modify the term during the contract. So for instance, if you want to migrate all other users to either the calling or the meeting component. And then an enterprise agreement is a company-wide entitlement for all your knowledge workers. So this is where you have 250 or more users within the organization, and that's for meetings and for callings as well. And I guess the key benefits or the main benefits of doing an EA is it gives you the 20% growth I mentioned earlier, and it's an annual true forward. And it also gives you the common device licenses as well, and video room licenses included. And I'll cover those in the next few slides. And then finally, moving on to the active user meeting. This is only really useful or benefit for meetings, not for a calling. A calling has to be taken out either as an EA or named user, whereas meetings, you can take an active user model. So this is a 15% off your knowledge worker. So it allows you to grow that as you take up meetings more. So I guess in summary, the licensing plans you have available, you start off with a trial with a proof of concept using a named user, and then we'll investigate to see if that is being adopted, and if the usage is beyond 15%, we will then maybe look at an active user for meetings anyway, and for anything above 250 users or 40% users or above that are actually utilizing the platform, we'll look at an enterprise agreement. And each of these basically models entitle you to different levels of software and capabilities. So I'll cover this off now. So I guess the key ones just to point out on here These are the common features that are available with named user and enterprise agreement. So this is purely for calling. So you get the calling, obviously the PBX, so that's call manager, whether that's on-prem or cloud. You also get the number of devices, up to 10 devices, and that's across both platforms. And you get voicemail. So you don't need to buy a separate license for voicemail. And WebEx Teams is included, or Java, with both named and enterprise agreement. I guess the main differences between, if I should pull out between the named, bolt-ons or add-ons. So for an EA, for example, you get common device licenses included. You also get, the EA also starts to add up when you're doing additional licenses, such as common area devices, video room licenses as well, are also included part of that. And then finally, similarly from a meetings perspective, the main differences are around inclusion of room-based licenses, and telepresence management suite. So that's good and useful for where you want to do one button to push, and you want to have your endpoint join a meeting room by just using the green button. And actually, what I should mention, it also includes all the centers. So that's training center, event center, like the one we're on now, and meeting center that we all commonly use anyway. So I guess to recap, I'll go through some of the migrating to Flex and how that's done. So we'll go through some of the details. So any client really who's looking to going on a cloud journey, is going through, I guess, a Swiss renewal, or who has more than one stack. So you have calling and you have WebEx, for example, for meetings perspective, or clients that may be looking at M&A activity or organic growth, then I would suggest definitely looking at the migrating to Flex plan. Talk to us. We'll do an ROI based on what you currently have versus moving to a Flex, and it's definitely the way of direction. Kind of Cisco, it's where it's all going. So towards the Flex plan. And I guess, like I said, talk to us about doing an ROI and see if it stacks up commercially for you. So I guess what I'm going to do here on this slide is just go through what a traditional Swiss looks like versus a Flex. So you can see if you were on a traditional Swiss, you would have a couple of things to consider when you're doing a renewal. So that would be your software support costs, so that's known as your Swiss. In addition, if you've gone out of compliance for any licenses that may not have been covered during that term, or you've added new licenses, they may be code turning at different times. So you need to look at license reinstatements for any licenses that have lapsed or not covered under the Flex. Again, you don't get growth and new initiatives, and anything like conferencing is a bolt-on, and that's done separately. Whereas with a Flex EA, what you get is obviously you get a Swiss support contract. There's no sort of like different licenses. You don't buy perpetual licenses and then a Swiss. You also get 20% growth, and in addition to that, you get 50% common space device licenses included as well. So, and in addition, TP rooms are also included as part of an enterprise agreement. And I think the main key thing I'll point out is the WebEx Teams where everyone is included. And again, likewise, with perpetual, to keep it simple, you do need to add conferencing costs in addition to that. And then finally, from Flex calling, EA, and if you combine that with meetings, you'll get additional benefits. So you'll get the meetings and you'll get a better price point from Cisco. And it covers all your calling and meetings and all the benefits that you can see in the middle column. In addition, you get the conferencing and all the centers that you are from a conferencing perspective. So I guess to assist you in the Flip to Flex conversation, we will work with you on your. So I'll just pull this slide out. We'll work with you on identifying existing licenses that you have, verify your knowledge work account, and then provide you the right license model. So leave that to us to work out for you. But what this slide is showing is that to migrate from current to the new Flex plan, Cisco do provide incentives, and they'll give you current to the new Flex plan to be able to do that. And also, if you've got any Swiss residual value, so say you've got even a 1 year or 2 year Swiss account, and that's not due for renewal for a while, we can still look at rebating those costs back. Let's look at, finally just move on to an ROI. So what I've done here is a 3-year Swiss versus a Flex. Now I'll build it out as I go. So we've got perpetual. So what I've done here, so 250 user license comparison. I've included some UCL enhanced licenses and a console. I haven't included a license agreement statement just to keep it kind of comparison and show you how benefit this is. If there were license agreement statements, there'll be additional costs we'd have to factor in. But if you were to include, for example, 20% growth, with all that, you're looking at around $55,000. That's split at discount. And in addition, whereas a Flex here, you can see just a side-by-side comparison with the growth, you're already looking cheaper. And then once you add in the additional devices and licenses, you can see there's almost a difference of 14,000. And then when you do the combination and you want to roll out Teams for the whole organization, this is a Flex EA for meetings and an active user for WebEx. So you get for additional 14,000, the whole organization can benefit of having a conference meeting. So to recap, Flex, the benefits are really, it's a shift to software as a service. It's a consumption based on a per user per month model. It allows you to kind of like look at cloud when you're ready. So, even though you may choose to stay and remain on premise for now, but allows you to move those licenses and those applications to the cloud when you're ready. The additional benefits you get, like 20% growth, we've already covered, and it's annual true forward as well. So if you are kind of beyond that initial licensing agreement that we've captured for the first few years, it's true forwarded at the end of the year. You would not get penalized by Cisco or us. And it gives you access to all the latest software. And I think the key thing is it's travel direction. I think Flex benefit is where it's going, and it's definitely due for renewal for it, to do an ROI for you on your behalf. And with that, I guess we'll just finish on some Q&As. And I guess some of the typical type of questions I'll bring in guys at this point just to maybe ask some questions, and I can cover up some of the answers to those type of questions.
Yeah, thanks for that, Wax. So we generally do get like a whole bunch of questions from clients, but for the purposes of this session, we've just compiled kind of like a list of common sort of questions that we get asked by clients. So firstly, I'll start with the first one, the first kind of common question. How do we, so the first question would be, how do we choose between different licensing models?
So yeah, I think I've mentioned earlier, there are names, there's also for calling, and then there's an EA. So we would, based on your knowledge work account, we would work out the right licensing model for calling, and then same for meetings. Now, the thing with meetings is we can go in with a 15%. If you're not sure what that looks like, we can start with a 15%. However, if you've got some understanding on how many people require access to WebEx, it could either be named or we can choose an enterprise agreement. So I guess, we will sit down and work it out with you guys.
Cool, thank you. And the next question would be, what is the minimum term for a Flex agreement?
So that could be anything from a single 1 year, but however, I would recommend probably looking at a 3 year. And the reason I say that is just the discounts and the rebates you would get. And on top of that, you can still choose to pay on a monthly basis as an OPEX expenditure. So it gives you the access to the best discounts, but you still pay on a monthly basis, for instance, as an OPEX.
Great. Is it possible to attach the meetings component to a calling Flex midterm?
Yeah, that's the key benefit of the Flex term. It allows us to go in and modify that contract during the term. So whether that's an uplift of adding additional components or just adding additional licenses, that's quite easily done. Whereas in the past, you'd have to go through a whole process of ordering the licenses, making sure the Swiss contracts are aligned. Whereas now you just basically co-term anything you do with the original dates that you had, and you can just do a new contract at the time. But yeah, it is possible to do.
Cool. And I think one of the most common ones is, what is a smart account?
Yeah, so Cisco are pushing everything towards smart account licensing. Basically, what that means is the licenses are held by Cisco in a cloud. And so basically, if you were, at the moment you buy pack keys and those can get lost, whereas now what Cisco are saying through a proxy server which talks to the cloud, all your licenses will be fulfilled there. So if you were to move to different partners or, have additional EAs with different technologies, for example, networking or security, again, those are held in one single location in the cloud. So it allows us to kind of like just pull those licenses. So the prime license manager will talk directly to pull the licenses as it sees fit and as it requires.
Cool. And finally, how do the rebates work? And is this a one-time offer?
No, so the rebates are kind of agreed at the time of the contract, and that's ongoing. So we would work with Cisco to get the right discounts and the right rebates. So when you say rebates, you're talking about perpetual licenses that the client's purchased, or it could be the Swiss contract. So those will be ongoing. Obviously, the Swiss is a point in turn. So once you've kind of like given rebates for that, that's taken away. But the perpetual licenses are an ongoing discount.
Cool. Great. That's everything from the Q&A.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Gudge. I'm just going to pass back to Hayley to just, finish off, around 1, 2.
Yeah, so a couple of things which is quite important to kind of point out. People ask us, why should we do collaboration with you guys? We have a very strong heritage in collaboration with Cisco, and our proven capability across, obviously you can see up here, we've got over 70 clients that we work with on the collaboration suite today. We lead the charge with Cisco hand in hand, and we're awarded the first launch partner in the UK for the Cisco Cloud Calling piece, which is extremely exciting for us. And it enables us to bring to market a complete Cisco Cloud Calling collaboration offering. This year we won Cisco Software Partner of the Year, which just bolsters the fact that our clients are starting to feel the benefits from moving to the software kind of approach. And we at the moment hold the WebEx Master accreditation, and we're one of the few UK partners which do. So we live and breathe this day in, day out. You probably host and have WebEx calls with us, weekly, if not bi-weekly, and we have a lot of experience, a lot of expertise, and we're incorporating DevOps element into our collaboration proposition moving forward. So there's a lot of exciting things to come. Okay.
Cool. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll, end it there.